welcome once again to Yoga Express. It's all about moving the body to still the mind. And I have to say, I really felt wonderful after last Monday's workout with Gina because it was so relaxing, but it was quite effective because I think every now and then we need to slow down. And I especially needed that because a few weeks ago I did a workout and I was still sore from that workout. And then Gina gave a pretty balanced workout 2 weeks ago. But last week it really helped me get myself back. You know, you talk about getting yourself back in balance in Ayurveda,
Yes.
right? So I needed that. So that was very relaxing. And in fact, you also shared a good tip with me, Gina. You said when I want to go forward, I could try maybe sitting, just rolling up my mat a little
Yeah.
bit to bring my butt up.
Anything to bring your hips, like even sitting in this pose, a lot of the times we're tight in our bottom half. Whether it's you're sitting at a desk all day or we just don't really get down and move as much anymore. So by lifting the hips, then the knees can release
The knees
down.
go down, exactly.
Yeah.
And I find that very relaxing, except that sometimes, of course, we all have different anatomical proportions.
Absolutely.
So the reach may be greater for someone with a longer waist.
Yes.
But sometimes I feel that if I lift my hips up a little bit, and you gave a very good tip to roll the mat, I'm actually getting a deeper reach because my waist is not that long.
It changes the positioning of your pelvis.
Okay.
The
So
minute
that's what's happening.
and it also realigns your spine. I think the higher we sit up on something and our legs are lower beneath us,
Right.
it just helps to prop everything up,
So
and
the
then
spine
everything kind of goes in line, which
Yeah.
is
It's
good.
a good point, good
Yeah.
perspective, because I'm thinking when I finish a class here or anywhere, when I'm outside of a yoga classroom and I've just finished practicing, I'm suddenly sitting upright, my shoulders are back, you know, my chest is open and I'm feeling light, and that's the feeling that I want to experience
Yeah.
every time, right? Before I forget, Nuriel Exelas, our director, thank you so much for once again helping us get this program on air. Nuriel, thank you for staying with us. Thanks also to Corey Bryce. Really appreciate you setting us up right here in the studios. And we'd like to welcome once again Gina Benson. Gina, that really, really, truly felt very good last week. So
Yay.
I'm looking forward to today. What is there anything else that you want to share about yourself as well? I know you're a holistic counselor.
So
What else?
what's so interesting is that when we were talking last week, we talked about the chakras.
Right.
I'm a chakra healer as well, and
I didn't know that. Oh,
yeah.
wow, okay.
So I don't like, for some reason, I don't like the word healer because
Right.
I'm not doing the healing. I just help to facilitate people to heal themselves.
Right.
Just like a yoga teacher facilitates people through a yoga class, they're not making the people do the yoga.
Right.
If that makes sense.
No,
and
absolute
same thing
sense.
as being an Ayurvedic counselor. You can offer the information, and then it's up to the
up to them.
client or the your person that you're working with to
So
use
you
that
offer the guidance.
information.
So
Yeah.
you're a chakra healer, you are a yoga teacher, and you did your 500 hours, you finished your 500 hours training as well. By the
Yes.
time we air this, you're
Yes.
probably going to be
500
done,
hours.
done, and
Yes.
done. Beautiful. No wonder your techniques are very easy to understand, and I
Oh,
really
thank
like that.
you.
So it actually helps take me deeper into the postures where I wouldn't have made that effort. So they're very clear. So thank you for that. Talking about chakras, we also had this brief discussion after last week's episode. Sometimes I find there is a bit of confusion still in my mind after 18 years of practice. I'm still not very clear. We talk about Muladhara chakra, the base chakra,
Yes.
or the root chakra, and we talk about Swadhisthana, the one that's below the navel.
Yes.
But as far as, and each chakra relates to a certain system in the body. So there's
Correct.
reproductive system, digestive, excretory system.
Yes.
Sometimes I have noticed they get those two, the base chakras, interchanged. Is there a reason for that? Is it a location?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you think about it, the very base of your spine and right above it are so close. And then
Right.
there's actually right below your navel and your solar plexus, your
Above.
Manipura, is actually a lot higher than your belly
right,
button.
right.
And so there's a bigger gap between
The two,
those two.
so it's easier to distinguish.
But when talking about chakra, so chakra, the word chakra means wheel
Right.
or to wheel. And it's believed that we have these lines of energy, or these vortexes, not vortex, what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, vortex.
Vortices of energy.
Yeah, of energy that move from our front body and out through the back body in both directions from our center line.
Right.
And we do associate it with the spine, but like you had said last week, the spine is really like you can bend over and touch your backbone.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And that's so that your spine is actually really close to the surface of your body. Your organs are protected in between, and then we have our rib cage that wraps around in the front. So, and then there's some organs that just are only protected by muscle and tissues.
And a lot of fat.
Yeah, it's good though. It's actually healthy to have a healthy amount of fat and muscle. Yeah, absolutely. You have to protect your organs. Can I go through
Absolutely.
the chakra system, and then
Please.
we can even do some yoga poses that help to balance and activate them?
Absolutely.
So there's energy that's manifested physically, but also emotionally or mentally. And we'll start with our root chakra, or the Muladhara chakra. It's associated with the color red, and the chakra system is actually aligned with our endocrine system. So we have endocrine glands throughout our body, and we're going to just talk about the 7 chakras specifically that are from red all the way through the color of the rainbow, 7 colors. So our root chakra, it's what keeps us grounded, and it's associated to our adrenal glands, which sit right above our kidneys. We talked a little about that last week in the class. Your adrenal glands are responsible for producing and secreting adrenaline, which is like, when you go on a roller coaster and you're like, whoa, that's your adrenaline. You have the cortisol, that's your fight or flight hormone, that's also produced and secreted in the adrenal glands. And that one is actually, we talk about that a lot in yoga teacher training. In a chakra training. And cortisols are fight or flight. That's how do you respond to your environment? How do you respond to conflict? So, do you fight or do you take flight? It's like, and so our root chakra is actually associated with our survival. Like when there's a dog chasing you, do you run? Like are you gonna run away? Yeah, or do you freeze? Like what do you do? So that's associated with your root chakra. So there's ways that we can activate this to keep us grounded. It can go 2 ways. You can have someone who has a really, really closed off root chakra, and they may be someone who's very, very stagnant, doesn't like to move. Physically, the attributes of that could be like hemorrhoids, having trouble excreting your bowel movements, basically everything that's happening here at the bottom of your GI tract, that is associated with your root chakra. Even sometimes like feet problems or problems in the legs can be associated with that. And that's where it gets a little hairy, because sometimes they'll say that, your sacral chakra, the chakra that's the step up, can also be associated with that area. But when talking about the glands or the endocrine glands, it's just the adrenal glands that are responsible for the Muladhara chakra.
Okay, that's good to know.
So right now, I'm sitting in a grounding pose. This is, you can sit in Sukhasana like this, and this is really, really grounding. This is great for your Muladhara chakra. Now, someone who has a very open Muladhara chakra is someone who's going to be less grounded. So they're going to need to be more grounded. So these are the people who are going to feel very anxious all the time. They can't sit still. And actually, one of the physical poses that you can do is lifting your pelvic floor. So the Mula Bandha?
Mula Bandha, yes.
That is associated with the Muladhara. So lifting that pelvic floor, which pretty much is the space between your anus and your genitals. And by lifting that up, it's helping to activate or close that Muladhara chakra. And if you're someone who needs to open it more, then you might choose to do different poses. So for grounding purposes today, so if you're someone who feels like you're anxious, or if you're having any of those problems that I had mentioned before, this is how you would root yourself down. We can sit in Sukhasana. This is one pose. Another pose is child's pose, so we'll move into child's pose just to demonstrate that. And do you want to take wide leg, and I'll take closed leg? So there's 2 options. Bana's going to take a wide leg child's pose, and I'm going to keep my knees together and sit my heels back seat back on my heels, and I'm gonna release my forehead to the floor as much as I can. So any pose that really keeps you close and rooted down in the ground is really, really important. But there's also really active and strengthening poses that we can do that also help to activate our Muladhara chakra. So Banu and I will roll up out of our child's pose, and please join us if you're watching at home.
Do I have to?
I know, right? And then we're going to come to stand. So as we're standing, this pose, Tadasana, is actually associated with every chakra because it just helps to align. You're aligning the spine. You're aligning the endocrine glands. Your organs are aligned. You're firmly planted in your feet, but also lifting through the crown chakra, the top of your head. And this is activating all of them. But what pose we're going to step into today is Warrior One. You're going to take your right foot forward and your left foot back. If you are having trouble keeping your hips squared, what you'll do is step your left foot out to the side just a little bit. So now the hips will stay more squared, and sometimes it'll make you feel more stable. You'll bend deeply into your right knee, and then lift your arms up over your head. This is Warrior One pose. If you'd like to take it a step further, you can even open the chest by gazing up at the ceiling, or lifting the thoracic spine or the front of your heart towards the ceiling. So this is our Warrior One. You're strong in your legs. Any poses that require strength in the legs will activate your Muladhara chakra. Also, to make this more interesting, if you lift your pelvic floor, you feel lighter in your legs. You feel like you can hold it even longer. Do you feel that, Banu?
Right. Since
Yes.
you mentioned it, I tried it.
Yeah.
It does. You do feel a little lighter. Maybe should I take my left leg out a little bit?
Yes, if you're feeling, yes, you
Because
can
I'm
absolutely.
sort of losing my balance.
Yeah, absolutely. Take it out to the side. And then if you have the balance and you want to come into the classical style, you'll actually step your feet in line with one another. So this is the classical style of Warrior One, Virabhadrasana 1. But this is so hard. It's very hard. Like even I can't keep my hips parallel to the front wall. And then we'll come back to the top of our mat. And now we'll do the other side because it's not fair to only do the right side. One leg will be stronger than the other. Yeah. Step your left foot back. Your right foot back. And bend deeply into your left knee. And if you had taken your foot out to the side on the other side, you could do that with that side as well. And now you'll lift your
God, how one side allows me to stay okay with my feet closer.
It's so interesting.
But you're right, it's important to take it at the same spot.
This is Muladhara chakra. And then as you exhale, you can stand back up. And then we'll make our way back onto our seat to talk about the next chakra, so there's a lot of poses we could do on the floor for that as well.
Sure, Swadhisthana.
Yes, so we are heading into the sacral chakra. It is associated with the color orange, and it's associated with our reproductive glands, our reproductive organs. So that's the ovaries for the women and the testes for the men, and that is located just above the base of our spine, right? So that would maybe be in we have a sacrum at the bottom of our spine. That's our sacral chakra area. So that's where that sits. So this is associated with, and I forgot to say before, the element that's associated with the Muladhara is earth. So that's what that grounding.
Okay. Yeah,
yes.
That's good to remember.
And water is the sacral chakra. So water in the body is really what makes our cells stick together, or we would just be like dust or sand on a beach. And you notice that as you get closer to the water, the sand is stickier, and the farther away we are from the water, then the sand just flies around. You can't really make a sandcastle with that. So water in our body is what actually gets our cells to stick together, or else we would just be dust. So the water in our body, or the sacral chakra, is our stickiness, right, to things like objects. Sometimes we become a little greedy, or even to our relationship with people. It's how do we associate or relate ourselves to other people, and that's associated with the sacral chakra. And it's so first it's our responses to our environment, which is the root chakra. Then our sacral chakra is our responses to relationships. So like, how do we relate to others in?
Are we getting too possessive?
Yeah, absolutely. And also, it's our creative home. It's our home for creation. Yes, there's the act of procreation or reproduction that we use those organs for, but also like our mental creativity, and that actually stems from this. They believe that it stems from our sacral chakra. So how to activate it? There's several things we can do. First pose is one of my favorites. We'll come into the Baddha Konasana, the cobbler pose, the bound ankle pose, and you'll open your feet like a book. That just helps to open your knees some more. And right now, there's so much opening here in your legs. So any kind of hip opening pose is really, really great for your sacral chakra. And sometimes these poses overlap with each other. For example, the Muladhara chakra, we could also use this pose for that. And then you'll fold over your legs. So this will even intensify the stretch. And then we'll come all the way back up. I'm going to make you guys stand up again because we're going to do 2 more poses. Is that okay, Bonnie, that we're going up and down, up and down?
Absolutely, yeah.
We're going to do 2 more poses that I'll show you for this. I'll stand this way. Bonnie, you can stand sideways on your mat. We're just going to come into a wide leg forward fold. You'll take your hands over on top of your hips, and then when you're ready, you'll hinge at the hips, fold forward, and take your fingers to the floor. If you need to bend your knees, that's okay, because here we're opening up our hips here. And you'll feel even the back of the legs. And you're required to use some strength in your legs here. So again, this overlaps with the Muladhara chakra. Nice, Banu.
I'm enjoying myself, marinating in this one.
You have a healthy sacral chakra.
Thank you. It's good to know the connection between the postures and the chakras.
Yeah, I think it's really great. I love that kind of like practice.
Right.
I actually learned a lot of this in my yoga teacher training, my 200-hour.
Wow.
4 years ago. And you're going to take your hands to your hips and help yourself all the way up. And while we're here, we'll come into our next pose. You'll turn your right toes out to the side, and then bend your knee and come into Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. Again, there's a lot of strength that needs to happen here, but there's also so much hip opening. In order to get your top thigh parallel with the floor, you have to sit really deep in your hips, and your hips have to be pretty open to get into this pose. It's tough. So Warrior 2 is great for balancing the sacral chakra. It also brings in a sense of strength. And then we'll straighten that front knee and just pivot our toes in. And then pivot our left toes out to come into the other side because we have to be fair.
To our body, huh?
Yeah.
That's what I love about the yoga practice, especially asana practice. We become so aware of our physical body. We don't really give it much thought.
It's true.
I had a teacher who would always say, where the mind goes, energy flows. So just getting
where the mind goes, energy flows. That's so true.
So when I keep thinking of different parts of the body, I'm energizing those regions.
Yeah. So we're going to head back to the floor. I know.
Feels good, though.
The up and down, up and down. I know this is a very static yoga class. Probably not something you've probably...
No, as long as our director is fine with it, we're okay.
Good. So the next chakra that we're going to talk about is the solar plexus chakra, the Manipura chakra. And I think Manipura is the name of a snake. Is that correct?
Money is a little gem in the cobra. Not all cobras, but you have certain cobras that have a little jewel.
Yeah, they have that gold. It's colored gold, right? Like a yellowish goldish.
Yeah.
So the solar plexus chakra is associated with the color yellow.
Right.
It's associated with the element fire, and the endocrine gland that works here is your pancreas. So your pancreas is actually a part of the digestive system that we forget about, because the pancreas produces and secretes glucagon that helps to increase our sugar when our sugar is too low, and insulin when our sugar is too high. So just another interesting
fact. So to activate the pancreas, we can do a lot of forward folds or squish it up.
So actually, there's a couple things. If you are someone who has, let's say, in Ayurveda it would be called a kapha imbalance.
Right,
But if
right.
you have, let's say, I mean, now we're talking medical terms, but like maybe let's say diabetes,
Right.
because that's where the pancreas stops producing insulin and glucagon, and then you have to, or insulin, so then you have to take insulin for medication. So some poses that you could do are poses that suppress the abdomen. So like bow pose when you lay on your belly.
Right.
And we can do that after. I'll show you one other pose that we'll do first. There's also igniting the fire. So any kind of digestive issues that you might be having could be associated with the solar plexus. Emotionally, it's our confidence. And the way you can think about this is like when you can think of like a war. So I didn't talk about the mantras, but there's the mantra
Yes.
Ram.
You have Lam,
Yeah,
Ram is for
Lam,
the
Bam,
Manipura.
and then Ram is for
Ram.
Manipura. And Ram was a warrior in the Vedas, or talked about in the
Lord
Hindu
Rama.
religion. Yeah, Lord Rama. So, and he was a warrior. So that's what I think of. I think of like strength, and there's a strength there. It's also associated with our assimilation, and the strength of our mind too is even associated with our stomach. Also, fun fact: there's a nerve that runs from our brain to our belly, directly to our stomach.
Yes,
So-
there are different, that's what I've heard too.
Yeah, so it's like
Different
our
events.
mind, our belly has a mind of its own, our gut has a mind of its own, and that's really just the strength of our solar plexus. That's what I believe. So a great pose to activate this is Navasana, boat pose. Oh no, you hate it!
That's okay, I'll try it. I'll give it a shot. I'll go this
Yes,
way.
and I'll go this way. So
Yeah.
we'll get the side shot,
Right.
so that's good. So you'll sit up tall, and you'll take your toes to the floor like this. And then you'll lift your feet up and balance on your seat. If you can hold here, great. If you want to take it a step further, release your hands. If you want to take it a step further, you can straighten your legs. It's so hard. Maybe even straighten your arms. It's really hard to hold here. But we'll just stay here in Navasana, boat pose. You're using a lot of core. I mean, your legs will feel it. Your chest is lifted, but it's really the core. And since we're running out of time, the next pose will actually contribute to both the solar plexus and the heart chakra. I'll talk about the heart chakra quickly, and then I'll stop at the throat chakra because we won't have much time. But the heart chakra is associated with the color green. It's associated with the element air, and it's also associated with your thymus, which is what controls your immunity through puberty. And now for years there is studies that said that it now just turns to like a fatty tissue when you go through puberty. But now there's studies that are saying that the thymus is still in control of your happiness and your sadness. These waves. Isn't that so interesting?
It is. I mean, research has brought so much.
Yeah. And also it contributes to like love. So love for yourself, compassion for others. Sometimes when this is imbalanced, we can become very judgmental. We can be really critical of ourselves and others. And it's really good to open up the chest. So like any of those heart openers, like moving like this is really good for your back, like cat-cows, opening up the chest, rounding the back.
I did that last week. It felt so good.
Yeah, it felt so good. And we'll just talk about, before we go into this last pose, because it'll actually be great for all three, then we have the throat chakra. It's associated with the color blue, and it's in charge of your parathyroid, and your thyroid and parathyroid, and it's associated with the element space. So sound is associated with space, and actually sound comes from our voice box. And this is in control of our communication. And also, it's the bridge between our heart and our head. So sometimes, like you can't always, sometimes you think one thing, but your heart wants another thing, and that's what they say that this is. And when this is blocked off, it means that you're maybe not speaking your truth, or sometimes you're speaking too much. Like right now, I feel like I've spoken so much. My throat chakra is like, whoa.
Let me see, is your neck turning blue?
Yeah, right? So let's come on to our bellies. This will be our last pose of the day. And take your forehead to the floor. Draw your heels back to your seat as much as you can, and lift up your chest to catch onto your ankles. So we're going to come into our bow pose, nice. If this is where you stay, that's perfectly fine. If you can press your feet into your hands and hands back into your feet, you'll lift up through your chest. So right now we're compressing the belly, so the solar plexus is being compressed here. We're opening through the heart chakra, so we're activating the heart chakra, and you can even take your gaze up. You're opening through the throat here, and this is opening the throat chakra. And then as you exhale, release back down. And then help yourself back to a seat. And then you can compress the thyroid or the throat chakra by dropping your chin towards your chest. So we have the opening of the thyroid and then the closing of the throat chakra. So that's pretty much it. Those are the first 5 chakras that are really present in the physical body. The third eye chakra is the pituitary gland, associated with the pituitary gland in the left eye, and the crown chakra is the the pineal gland, and associated with the right eye.
That reminds me of a joke. I don't know if I should be joking about this on air, but why is Shiva's throat blue?
Because I'm not sure, but didn't he like drink the poison and that's the story?
That is the real story behind it. But I just couldn't help it because it helps me understand the chakras better.
Yeah.
There's not enough oxygen on Mount Kailash.
Oh, that's hilarious. I thought you were asking for the story.
No. The story actually, it's quite beautiful. It actually talks about how he took poison to save the universe and stuff like that. But I don't know enough, so I'm not going to call it that. But also, you made a very good reference to all the different chakras by the colors of the rainbow. Ajna chakra, is it indigo? Yeah,
yes.
Indigo, and then violet or white. That is something, where the light goes out.
So realistically, like colors are really just what we see through light.
Right.
So we just say that it's associated with colors.
So white is a combination of all the colors. Because I like that reference when you have the white light coming out of the whole top of the head.
Yeah, it's pretty.
It's supposed to just melt you down. Anyway, thank you so much. Before we go into the last line, on behalf of our director, Nuriel, and our studio our facilitator, Corey Bryce, we'd like to thank Gina Benson. Gina Benson, your website one more time?
YogaVedaHealth.com.
Yes, and you guys would have seen that in the rolling credits, so stay with us. Stretch with us.